Good day, fellow rockers and monsters. Welcome to the Metal Connection, the connection to all things metal. I'm J-Dub, and today on the show we're doing the overrated and overlooked bands that we feel are kind of underrated and overlooked, kind of along those lines. So we have a panel of guests here. So um, before we get into kind of picks and all that kind of thing, and right into kind of the juice of our picks, essentially. So I've asked each guest to pick three bands, three bands they feel are underrated, essentially, or anything that falls in that territory. Oh, hey, Mean Metal Mike's here. What's up, J Dub? So, what's up, everybody? They're cool. Anyway, so right before we get into the thick of it, I wanted to pose a kind of interesting question. Is I did not pick this band, but this is a band that's kind of borderline, where like an example band that I just want to segue into the kind of conversation of what's going on today. But anyway, a band like Armored Saint, what do you guys feel about that in
Yeah.
terms of, do you think they're underrated? Would they fall in line with this topic? Armored Saint, sorry, yeah.
They were underrated before he actually joined Anthrax. And then when
Like,
he
do you
got into
guys
Anthrax, he had the fame of going back to the Armored Saint.
like
Yeah,
in
they're
how you were
A lot of
like?
fans came over to the Anthrax crowd because of Armored Saint.
So like how you
because
approach
of
this?
John Bush.
Do you guys view Armored Saint as underrated, or is like no, they're popular, everyone knows them, or like
They are
what,
popular.
or do they not fit in with your picks, or like would you not view them as underrated, or
I think they
Bill?
certainly could.
Bill, I
I,
know you're familiar with the Armored Saint. Or,
I think they fit in
I've
with, yeah, I'd say J Dub, they would fit in with the theme, at least with the three groups that I picked. I mean, they're a band that could have been bigger. Great catalog, great talent, great players, but for whatever reason, in terms of their viability from a commercial standpoint, it just never worked out. But yeah, I mean, I would say they're a band that should have been bigger and a little bit underrated. Yeah.
yeah, cool. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to segue that into kind of just loosen everyone up for talking and whatever. So, actually, this is kind of a Bill's idea. He kind of threw that as a topic idea, and some people showed interest in it. So here we are doing it. So maybe I will kind of just put Bill on the hot seat, and get him to go first. So, Bill, let's hear one of your bands.
Yep. So I decided to pick three bands across like three different subgenres. So I kind of looked at it in the lens of bands that I really like personally, and uh, they just don't get enough credit for what they did and what they could have been, and for whatever reasons, they just never made it to the point of being big. In terms of platinum and gold records and playing big arenas or sheds or what have you. So in the, I guess you want to call it the hair or glam metal subgenre, I chose the band Vane. Vane.
Oh, nice!
I'm not sure if I took another one of your guys' picks, but I picked Vane. Recently saw them this past summer for the first time at the M3 Fest here in Maryland, in the East Coast here in New Jersey. They were amazing. They came out with their debut album in
Yeah,
1989
yeah.
called No Respect. A lot of
Bite the
people know
bullet.
about Vane. I mean, they're not an unknown quantity, but I thought that album was one of the best representations of that genre. From Davey Vane's vocals right down to just the songwriting and the melody that they had, and sort of like the underground edge. A lot of people compared Vane to Guns N' Roses. They
No,
had that sort of vibe. They're from San Francisco. I think they had a lot of credibility as well because they had some connections to the thrash scene as well. They were Davey actually produced Death Angels. I think first EP or first tape. So they're a band that just never made it. They had one major label release in '89. It didn't go anywhere really, and they've made a lot of albums since then. I haven't heard a lot of it honestly. From what I've heard, some of the material has been really good, but nothing really tops that first album. So in a perfect world, Maine would be headlining arenas and M3 festivals, but it's not happening. But I really like them.
I remember that Metallica released the Black Album as around the same time as that released, and that thing just drowned out every radio station in America for pretty much the whole summer, with Enter Sandman especially. So that kind of was the end of that. which sucks. But yeah, I remember that when they came out. That's a great video.
Yeah, Who's Watching You and Beat the Bullet. Every song on that album is pretty awesome if you like that style of music. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good pick. Wow, that's a good one. That's a deep cut.
Interesting. I'm not super familiar with them, so I'm not going to speak too much on it and let you say what you had to say on it. But Brian was familiar with it, so that was cool there.
Oh yeah.
So
I grew up with it. I remember cassettes.
to keep some sort
I've
of
gone through every single fad already, so I'm good. Even rap when it was new.
To keep some sort of circular formation going on here, we started with Bill, so I'll actually go next, I guess. So we'll kind of go around in a circle from there. And the first band I'm going to show tonight is this band was actually kind of even went under the radar a bit for me, actually. Well, I originally knew of them, and I kind of just picked out a few songs, and I never kind of went through the deep cuts and kind of just fully immersed myself into this band until even just a year or a couple of years ago. I kind of re-immersed myself back into this band. But it's actually going to be Skyclad here. Skyclad. So I don't know if anyone's familiar, but just kind of the original guys kind of doing that folk metal where they're kind of blending all sorts of metal, thrash, speed, power, folk metal, classical metal, basically all sorts of metal you can imagine. They're just blending it all together. And basically every album that I'm kind of sorting through was all released in the 90s. And it's actually quite amazing the output that these guys had creativity wise. The output that this band had in just the 90s alone, this band was on fire. Again, like what they were doing composition wise, just composing the songs in general. Like there's more going on here than just folk metal, what I thought, which is why I was actually kind of originally turned off from them, 15 years ago when I first kind of discovered them. And, I flipped through some songs like, oh, this one's a banger, this one's too folky, this one's, and now I've kind of gotten older, and now I came back to this band is what I'm getting to. So anyway, they're definitely in that kind of underrated, overlooked category. Maybe in the sense newer fans that are kind of getting into Monomarth and all this kind of stuff, like folky kind of stuff. Maybe you need to go back and kind of revisit the kind of OGs of that genre and blending that kind of sounds and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of just thought it was a good band to bring up. And yeah, I don't know if anyone else is familiar with Skyclad or anyone's got anything to say, but I will say lastly before I don't get anything to say before we move on to the next person is just creatively what this band was doing in the 90s, incredible. So definitely underrated.
Jamie, is there a connection with Skyclad? I think isn't there some type of connection with the band with Andy Sneap, who's the big time producer now but used to be in Satan and all that stuff?
Oh, yeah, good band.
Yeah,
I think too bad about the name, but that's awesome band.
I think they'd call it Sabbath.
Sabbath, that's right.
Sabbath or something like that. There's two Sabbaths if anyone's not familiar, and you look up. There's two different Sabbaths, but there's a Sabbath from UK, I think Nottingham or United Kingdom, somewhere around there.
There's a bat.
They were incredible. Yes, Sabbath was incredible with Andy Sneap on guitar back in the 80s.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, Thor proto metal. Thor is proto metal for sure. I got I don't know if you guys can see all the comments here, Thor. I got Thor.
I can't answer any of them.
Yeah, Mike's commenting a lot.
You're welcome.
So I don't know if anyone's got anything to say about Skyclad or anything like that, but
no.
Yeah, no. So there we go. I did my little bit trying to sell the choir on Skyclad here. Well, choir, yeah, funny. So we'll move along to Wyatt next.
All right, so this is just going off my mind, so I don't really have a list. But are we doing five bands?
3.
Oh, yeah.
I'm waiting
So
for
the first one.
Leatherwolf to come down in the comments. I'm waiting for that. What are two solid albums? Probably out of what, 12?
So the first one is you actually mentioned them, Jamie, Amon Amarth. They don't get enough credit for what they did or what they still do. But
Yeah, I found them early and I loved them right off the bat.
yeah,
Oh,
the
I found
melodic aspects are out of this world to me.
Yeah.
The aggression in their music is pretty good to me, and their lyrics are about Vikings and war,
Hunting.
and that's what I like is the lyrics in their songs.
Yep.
So yeah, that's my first band.
Nice.
They were
Their
definitely
times definitely.
uh,
Oh, sorry.
they were definitely a big one for me when I was first getting into metal. First discovered melodic death metal, and that like
Yeah,
that
that was my first melodic death metal band I've heard.
A lot of my friends like Amon Amarth, but I've never gotten into them. Maybe I should check them out.
They're good live.
Man. Oh, the first 4 albums are solid. And the thing is, if you needed a starting point, Sons of Amarth, it's I think the 3rd or 4th album. I'm not even sure, but it's off of that. That's where I started, and then I went back, and then I went forward too, because they do have a new album that released, so they have a new single out, which is pretty nice too, especially during the COVID thing. You never know what they're gonna come with from across the pond, and you're hoping that your favorite bands are right there, keeping up with the Joneses with the rest of them. So
They just announced a show, like in a tour, I believe. They're playing in New York.
yeah, they are touring. Yep.
You know what? We can all, since we're on Amon Amarth, you know what we should all really appreciate is that, you know, technically they are a subgenre of death metal, like melodic death metal. Like, you know, whether we like it or not, that is a subgenre of
Folk
death metal.
too. They're in
And
there with the
the
folk.
fact that Amon Amarth is packing venues like 3,000, 5,000 seat venues, we really got to be like in awe of that. Like to think a death metal band is packing in 3,000 to 5,000 people from night to night. You know, if they have a good tour package, things like that. But you know, if they got a good tour package, they can do it, and that's kind of like very impressive. So their due is here and now. But they're getting their time and due now, and it's really cool to see. Yeah, it is really cool to see.
You know what? They would be a perfect bookend pair to Rammstein for like an opening band, but with all the effort and just the money that goes into a Rammstein concert, I just want to watch Rammstein for 4 hours. Thank you. You know. But holy crap, that's kind of the same thing for me.
Yeah, I'm familiar with those guys.
Yeah. Even Death Clock, you know what I mean? Death Clock Rammstein show. Give me 8 hours of that.
Any band that were to open for Rammstein would just blow up, just be huge. You would just be huge just for opening for Rammstein.
PTB Empire just chimed in third at the gates. Yeah, and I think, he's correct.
So we'll move it along here. So Brian, you're up next with your first band.
Me? Oh my God, the rookie, the one that can't figure out anything without having his glasses on.
That's okay.
God. All right.
We'll take our time. All
right. So we were given the choice of 3. I brought 5 just in case something's double or a sample.
We'll make sure it's one at a time here. Make sure one at a time.
All right. I'm picking my number one, and this is something that talking to the lead singer about it. They're from Ohio. They never tour out of Ohio. He runs an arcade. Can't remember what it's called. Super Fun Arcade, something like that. Anyway.
The Pinball PA?
It's Ohio. What?
Is it called Pinball PA by any chance?
It's in Ohio. It might be.
Ohio.
It might be. It's Ohio. Right. I think it's Super Arcade or something. But anyway, he works on these things anyway. He usually does live streams, and it's like $5 with your credit card, and you can do the live stream. You get to keep it for a certain amount of time. They don't have a whole lot of produced videos. There's not really a whole lot of content. on YouTube, but there is 5 albums, and you can get them all for free if you download from Bandcamp, or if you donate, you'll be donating towards the arcade pinball fund. So the band is called Droids Attack, and this album is freaking killer. This is the only physical copy of anything media that they've ever produced, because again, everything is digital. So I've been bugging him and Horizon for at least 15 years to buy licensing just for make a T-shirt, some wall flags, because they have some really killer artwork, and usually it's all centered around World War II. They're not a political band. They just they play angry. They play really almost like a
aggressive
desert rock Sabbath kind of feel. They have a lot of major influences, but it's just like Bill Ward being a jazz drummer that plays for a heavy metal band, Black Sabbath. This drummer is almost the exact same carbon copy of that same formula in a 3-piece band. And Brad Van, he knows his riffs. He's heavy riff, especially it's a 2-record set, but it is heavy riff orientated all the way throughout. It's really heavy front, and it's good psychedelics, space rock, again with the desert rock, any kind of stoner metal going on the way out, and it leaves you thirsting for more. But having one physical copy, which it's nice to have, the artwork is beautiful, the music is beautiful. I don't even know how to say about the singing, but it's not too grungy and growly or whatever, but really like sludge meets, I don't know, like a Baroness or something. So it's a beautiful album. I just got it because it was just pre-ordered last year, so during the pandemic. But trying to get this other album called Must Destroy with that hit single from that album, trying to get that produced, talking with Brad Van, who is the engineer of this whole awesome musicianship. He said if they come back for more presses, I'll sign it. I'll let it go. And I was even thinking, hey, can you do like a 12-inch? Can you do like a 7-inch single? Just because it's like an 8-hour song. I mean, an 8-minute song. But to have that would just be killer and stellar, just to have it in your collection. But not having any physical things makes you really kind of cringe, like when it comes out. So you kind of pounce, and the second you do it, it's already sold out. But 600 copies of the only record they've ever made, out of, I don't even know how many people they have as far as followers or listeners, but Bandcamp has a lot of thumbs up. It's like 239,000 thumbs ups, because you can't buy this.
Their sound to, like, if you had to pick a band, I guess maybe a more well-known band, what would you say?
Sabbath mixed with the Sword. I'd say they're a lot in that same vein of like the Sword, and like again with the space rock desert stuff. But Must Destroy is one of the best riffs. It's a hook riff. It's got a great breakdown. It's got a great drum beat. It just has it all, man. It's got the fuzz tone. It's got the whole shooting match. It's one of my favorite songs. That's what got me into them, and that's through Bandcamp. That's before Facebook, dude.
Cool.
So I've been following them a long time. So, but they don't tour outside of really Ohio. They don't. They're perfectly content. But they probably will go back in the studio and just keep recording stuff and keep releasing it for free. They don't care. They're not about the money. They're about the talent and the musicianship. Playing what they can't find on the radio, which real music isn't on the radio in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like I'm not familiar with that in particular, but I do dig a lot of like stoner, like desert rock and that kind of stuff. As long as it doesn't start getting too drony, like 8, 9, 10 minutes.
Yeah, they do that. These guys are a lot of blues. They're a lot of breakdown blues, and they're really heavy, sludgy, like an Alice in Chains. But they have these breakdowns again with the jazzy because of the drummer. These Sabbath changes and these Sabbath. You know what I mean? Variant.
Are these songs super long though? Or are these like 9-10 minute long songs? Or
Brahma Astra, I think, is the name of the album. I can't see it without my glasses, but this one is Sci-Fi or Die. That's the whole name of the album, Sci-Fi or Die by Droids Attack. And the whole thing's it's a perfect album. It's a banger. And there's no ballads on it. There's no Mother Love Bone, Chloe dancing waiting to happen at the end. It's good. It's good stoner metal with some really good blues licks. Good solos too. Really good solos. Powerful.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool stuff for people to check out. It's overrated. It's underrated. I know it's underrated. So we'll move along, and Breton, you're up next.
Yeah. I'll start with Cryptopsy. They're a band that I feel has got the short end of the stick for a long time now. They did a lot for death metal, and they should be right up there with Cannibal Corpse in terms of the recognition.
6 Feet Under, right?
Yeah. Like, as a promoter, booker for Armstrong Metal Fest, we've booked Cryptopsy, and I've looked into booking Cannibal Corpse. There's no way we could afford them. And I feel like Cryptopsy is a band that we shouldn't have been able to afford. Like, they've done so much for the world of metal, and especially their singer Matt. He really gets the short end of the stick. They brought him in, and he showed that he could sing as well as do the gutturals, and all the metal elitists just started shitting all over Cryptopsy from that point on. Totally.
Do you think they should be more recognized? Do you think they should be more recognized, like in like the tech death world, or like that brutal death metal category?
Well,
like Suffocation, like brutal death metal, or?
I mean, they were kind of the originators of both of those streams.
Aren't they Canadian?
Yeah, Montreal.
Cool. I knew that. I'm just not familiar with their music. I mean, I've heard of them.
Yeah, they came out in the early 90s, blasting way faster than anyone could physically do at the time.
Right. They were wicked underground then too. They were, because I used to listen to college stations on Sunday nights at midnight, and you listen to it till like 2 or 3, and that's the stuff they were playing. Napalm Death Diatribes just came out about that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, back then when I first discovered Cryptopsy, probably would have been the back half of the 90s, like 99, 2000, somewhere around then, when I was getting into Corpse and Deicide and all that kind of stuff. So I was getting into all that kind of stuff, and then you listen to Cryptopsy, and it's like, okay, this isn't kind of just like, groovy death metal, right? It's not just like that Florida death metal stuff, like that groovy Florida death metal stuff. This is like next level tech precision. It's faster than that stuff. It's faster than the other guys, right? So it kind of flew a little over my head back when I was a kid, when I was getting into all that kind of stuff. I was like, I just want my 6 Feet Under and Deicide and stuff, right?
Right. Sepultura too, right? Sepultura.
Right. So yeah, they're definitely next level. So for any like newer generation that love that tech death genre, brutal slamming death metal, and just like that brutal death metal and all that kind of stuff, Cryptopsy was just kind of
they started it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, because the prog music wasn't. It was fading out, but it was picking up again because Dream Theater was picking it back up. So it was like in between realms. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
in terms of musicianship.
Yeah, that next level virtuosity.
Yep.
So there we go. Yeah, that was a cool pick. Repping the Canadian boys there too. So that's cool stuff. And we'll move along to Bill's up next.
All right. I am going to choose as my next band, I guess sort of in the spirit of I guess my three choices. These are bands that we've all heard of. I mean, they're big in our world, but I don't know if they're really big in the greater world, right? But I decided to choose, and ironically, I mentioned Vane before, and how he produced Death Angel's first. How he helped produce with Death Angel. I'm choosing Death Angel actually as my band here. I think that they came out of the thrash scene, back in the mid '80s, late '80s, the whole Bay Area thing, and two brutally fast and well-respected albums with Florida to the Park and the Ultra Violence. And I didn't really get into them too much at that point, but then their third album came out, and it's Act 3, it was called, in 1990, and that to me is one of my favorite albums of all time. I know it's kind of odd to mention that, but to me that's like the perfect heavy metal album. They actually introduced a couple of ballads, which was kind of unique for the thrash scene. A song called Room with a View, which was a video on MTV, and another song called Veil of Deception. They had a little bit of a funk element to Death Angel, but also a lot of pure thrash as well. I mean, that album literally blew me away when it came out, and I was 15 years old. I could have sworn at the time I thought that this band was going to explode, especially with the way that album was produced. They brought in Max Norman, who's like a well-known producer who had done, Ozzy and stuff like that, and I think they were well set up to become a huge band. They had a car accident, or actually, I think it was a bus accident or something on tour for that Act 3 album, and it kind of derailed the band. They had to go on hiatus. I believe that they were scheduled to go on Clash of the Titans and be that first band to open up for Megadeth and Anthrax and Slayer. Turns out that Alice in Chains ended up getting it. The rest is history. But I thought that album was phenomenal, and Death Angel broke up after that car accident, that bus accident, and they reformed many years later. They've made like 5 or 6 awesome albums since then. But I really thought that
new album just came out.
Some of their best.
Yep, and they're on tour right now. Yep. Yeah, they're still playing. Good pick, dude. That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, Kirk Hammett, I think, produced their first demo or something like that. So there's definitely a lot of credibility there. They're a band that I think doesn't get enough press and enough coverage, but could have been much bigger than they actually are.
I know. Even the last Overkill album, for example, that thing just crushed. That thing was massive, and you don't hear a peep about it because it came out last year. Come on.
Yeah.
They're still touring. They're still selling out.
Yep. And Davey Vane produced their first album. That's how it was. The Ultra Violence.
Oh, I didn't know that. No,
yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Which is kind of weird, right? A glam guy producing a thrash album. So, and Kirk Hammett did their original demo.
I was going to mention with the Death Angel that, those first, 3 or 4 albums, they were just kids back then too. They were really young. They were like 16, 17, 18, 19, some of them.
Yep. I'm bored.
They were like kids. I was looking at the pictures. I was like, kids.
We're still talking about Death Angel, right? Yeah. I'm bored. Remember that? That came out. That thing almost made the radio.
That was a cool song.
Yeah, it was, dude. It was so offbeat, but MTV with the Headbangers Ball, they were playing that at the time, and it got a lot of response. Up there with the green Jello, with the pigs, whatever it was.
Yeah. I think they were the record label made them change their name to DA at some point, right? And I think the name of the band held them back, right? But just the word death being in their name, I think may have held them back too. In addition to that tragic accident, where they had those injuries and they had to break up, basically.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking right there. I remember when that happened, man. You were reading about it in Metal Edge magazine or Kerrang or something. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah. I don't think anyone passed away or died, but I think the drummer got really injured pretty bad. Like the drummer Andy got really hurt, and I think he left the business, or he may not even be drumming anymore at this point.
Oh, right.
But that album is killer. I can't understate how.
I know it is. And they're on tour. They sell out because they're playing like little small, not to say small venues, but let's say 1,500, maybe 1,000, and then maybe 500 show up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Middle East and Boston, usually Boston, Providence area, in Connecticut, and in New York is where I kind of keep my travels. I kind of try to keep it close, but I'm still traveling 4 hours one way to see a show. Maine, New Hampshire.
Yeah,
Sleep. That's the only place I think I've driven 3 different times. 8 hours one way, 8 hours the other way, and I didn't stay over. I went up, got fucked up, drove home as a passenger.
I was going to mention his vocals since returning back in the band are just on fire. Like he's just kind of like screaming, kind of just spit firing these kind of thrash vocals out. He sounds incredible since returning back. So and the last album, is that Humanicide? Humanicide's the last album.
Yeah,
so. I think that's it.
Yeah, they only did a handful of shows for that tour.
And Humanicide is one of my more favorite ones of the newer
it was only like you're right. It was only like 12 shows or 13 shows or something. And it was
they're touring with Testament now and Exodus.
Oh yeah.
Hey, is Lombardo still playing drums for Testament right now?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
He's awesome.
That'd be great. That'd be great to see. I knew he was in. I just thought that was just a flash in the pan and just to fill in for whatever the rest of the tour was. That's awesome. I'm glad he stuck. Grip Incorporated is a great album. 2 of them, especially with him playing. Violator is my favorite one with him on it.
Yeah, that first Grip Inc. is incredible. That's really good shot. Good shit.
Yeah, the Grip, right? That's something else that's underrated.
Actually, yeah, that would have been a good, and Grip Inc. would have been a totally killer.
I don't have anything. I only have the CDs.
So I guess we'd move along to me. This one's going to go down kind of the obscurity rabbit hole. I tried not to go too deep down obscure rabbit holes and kind of have crickets going on, but this band just kind of just deserves more recognition. They're totally overlooked just for the fact, they did start, their first album was back in 1985, so we're talking about Attacker here. Attacker, Battle at Helm's Deep, 1985. With the funny cover. It's the first time I was seeing that cover.
That's a monster.
So maybe just to kind of just talk about this album specifically before I kind of move on is Attacker. This is their first album, 1985. US power speed. It's power speed, like it's speed power, kind of that mix. But anyway, his vocals is so high that he's almost registering into a King Diamond zone almost. Like there's times I'm listening to it, I'm like, hey, there's kind of some King Diamond-ish there. Like he's registering almost into that kind of realm a little bit. So it's really cool kind of power speed, kind of 1985 metal, like it's authentic stuff there. Again, if you are kind of a stickler for covers, you're laughing, haha, it's a stupid cover. I personally like these kind of covers, so that's a whole different conversation all on its own. Covers.
Yeah, it's no love beach.
Anyway, what I'm getting to is don't let it turn you off. If you don't like it, it is fucking good. Sorry, Bill's family's watching. I just swore there, but
Bill's watching this, and my sister is too. So thanks, Jamie. Thanks a lot.
Family friendly. Yeah, the family friendly.
They can handle a couple of anyway. They reissued this thing and they tried to put this stupid cover on the front anyway. So anyway,
see, that looks good. Why didn't they use that for the album cover?
Yeah. No, I don't like that one. I don't like that one. So Attacker actually came back, much like Death Angel. Actually, that's kind of a good segue. Much like Death Angel, they came back kind of, this around 2000, I think, somewhere around there. And they just started putting out, they just continued where they left off essentially without a hitch. They just kept putting out bangers, like just this incredible intensity, high volume, tempo, power thrash sort of. And you'd think that the singer would lose his high vocal end. Like a lot of these, I'm just looking at the same one. You'd think
they've been around for a long time too. Yeah, so I know what you're saying with the strain of the throat.
You think a lot of these older guys with the high vocal are gonna lose it a bit. If you look at Dawkins, right, that's laughable. He's not like that is a joke, right?
He can't sing anymore.
So, if you guys are looking for a guy that can still do it, this guy, he is still he is still doing high-end vocals. He's in key, in tune, like it's not like sounding stupid or nothing. Like this guy is in tune, he's in range. The band is firing, like it's energetic, high tempo stuff, like and the production
good.
there, like this is highest cutting edge stuff out of everything I own. If I were to pick this on any given day, I wouldn't have a problem because this is some of the best stuff you can get.
What's their best one? Would you say? What's your
These
favorite?
two are just incredible. Like these two, and not even that, but there's touches of progression too. Like they're not just your typical speed thrash band. There's like all of a sudden the bassist will go into these uber progressive like doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, and it's like, oh my god, this band is amazing. Like this band to me is mind blowing. They might not be to someone else, but I'm putting this up here as a band that people need to look out for as an underrated band. They've been around since 1985, and they're still they're putting out high level, cutting edge heavy metal that is making new bands look silly. Like this is really good stuff. So definitely check out their old stuff, new stuff, and kind of see if you're into any of it. And
Yeah. Jamie, just as an aside, I can't tell you I'm a huge fan of Attacker. I know who they are. But as an aside, they're from my home stomping grounds of New Jersey. So they're a local band for us here. So they do play around once in a while at some of the small clubs. And they're pure. They're definitely pure metal.
That'd be cool to go to one of their shows. It'd probably be like 100 person show or whatever. That's the thing, but nobody knows them. That's my whole point. They're overlooked. Why are only 100 people showing up to this kick-ass metal, right?
Yeah, that's definitely they're a band. I believe they're considered kind of proto thrash in a lot of ways too, right? Since they came out like in the early '80s.
Back then, I wouldn't
say proto thrash because DRI was already figuring that out in the early '80s. But go ahead, Jamie.
Oh no, I was gonna say, I wouldn't use them for a thrash metal show. I'd probably save them for like a power or a speed metal show. Probably like a power metal show. It's definitely, people definitely think power metal because when you show that's just written power metal all over it. So 80s power metal,
That's not a progressive rock album.
So,
but power metal was a term that wasn't invented until many years later. I mean, power metal was something that people didn't really say until what, like the 90s?
Yeah. When it's that's basically a whole topic on its own. So there's my Attacker pick. So we'll move along to Wyatt here for his next pick. And Wyatt, if you're pressed for time, if you want to make both your picks, if you have to leave after, maybe make both your picks and then peace out after if you're pressed for time.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to leave in a few minutes, probably.
Yeah, so maybe just do both.
You got a concert tonight, don't you?
Yeah, right, Steve Vai.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Too much. Sorry, Wyatt, we're yapping too much.
No, it's good.
No, sorry. Yeah.
No, we got all the time. He was just I knew from the beginning he only had an hour, so we're almost at an hour.
Yeah.
We'll get his two picks before he has to head off. So.
But sticking with the barrier thrash that Bill was talking about, Exodus. I think it's a criminally underrated band.
Now, when you find their records, the things are going for like $40 or $50 sealed, and that's for a reprint. Yeah, they just repressed them.
Mike's asking if you could fill in for me.
Exodus.
Mike's asking if he could fill in for me.
Oh yeah. I'm in. If he joins in, I'll watch out for him and add him. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then
if he's got 3 picks, and if he's got 3 picks ready to go, sure.
Yeah, just bang him out. I don't want to keep you from Steve Vai, bro. Go see him for sure.
But
my third one is probably Avatar. I don't know if you've heard them.
Oh, I was thinking about picking them. I was standing at my Avatar CDs thinking. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, so that's my 3. All right, I'm gonna go.
Good pick. Solid pick. Yeah.
I'm gonna go. So.
Yeah.
All right, Wyatt.
Yeah, see you.
Cool picks.
Hey, have a great night.
Yeah, Steve Vai, that's cool. I haven't seen a whole lot of solo instrumental shows. I did go see Uli John Roth one time, though. That was so pretty cool.
Abattoir is really like underground kind of proto. Also, you can make an argument proto speed metal.
Who's this?
Abattoir.
Oh, Abattoir, ABB, Abattoir. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I've been trying to get that on vinyl because they've actually, I don't think they've ever put it on CD, so I have to get the stupid thing on vinyl. But I've been trying to get that on vinyl. But yeah, Abattoir, that's a great, speed band.
Yeah.
Speed, or technical speed. But yeah, that's kind of a, that's an obscure pick. Just kind of throw it out there.
Cool.
Yeah, it is obscure. Yeah, you don't hear that every day. Gorgoroth is another one.
That's funny with just to, so we totally get off topic, but yeah, with Wyatt's pick with Avatar, I was standing at my Avatar. I got mine sorted in a couple different genres here, so my Avatar CD is probably up there somewhere. But I was looking at my Avatar and thinking about picking Avatar for tonight's show, but that's borderline. Like they're starting to get big, but in like if you're outside of the metal world, you don't know them at all. So yeah, for sure they're over.
Dude, they're all coming back around again. They're all rejoining. They're all coming back on the circuit. They're all playing.
Oh, it's funny. Oh, Bill might be confused. He meant Avatar. Like the newer band Avatar, not Abattoir.
Oh, did he say Avatar or Abattoir?
Yeah, no, he meant Avatar, the band Avatar, like you know that movie Avatar, but the band Avatar.
Oh, the band Avatar with a V.
Yeah, I just put it all together. I'm like, oh, he said Avatar. I realized that you misunderstood what he meant.
Oh, okay. I thought he said Abattoir, like the classic power metal band.
No, okay. he meant Avatar, but we will move on and we'll wish Wyatt luck with his Steve Vai concert, but we'll move along with Brian next year.
I'm next?
Yeah,
awesome.
I believe so.
Talking about obscure, talking about underrated, a lot of people know this band. I'm not picking this band, but do a lot of people know? Can you see it? I'm sorry.
That's Mr. Pussycat?
I've seen the cover in passing, but...
Sleep.
Yeah, Sleep.
Yeah. Well, I'm pointing out the artwork.
Juice Priest are not overrated. They're not underrated.
I thought it was Mr. Pussycat initially, because
I like them too a lot. But that artwork is the same artwork as this band I'm going to talk about, and they're from Norway. Everything's in Norwegian, so don't bother trying to learn Norwegian to figure out the lyrics. I just throw it on because it's angry and awesome. Reminds me a lot of the 80s mixed up with like punk, metal, and like the dueling leads of like Thin Lizzy, for example, or even Boston, maybe. Oh, crap! I'm sorry. I'm terrible at this trying to angle thing. Droids Attack. It's the same. I never know how to say that. This is a double record. This thing hooked me hard, and it was hard to chase down the other 3 albums, which I got from overseas. But here's crap. Sorry, man. I'm goofy with this. Hold on, right? So this is the newest one, the Split. They signed this album for me. The original singer left. He's got his own solo career. He's got his own solo album going on. It's Bjorn, and I can send that probably later on in another chat. I don't know what it's doing for album sales. It's new. It's 2 years new. They replaced the singer with a guy from the band. So he's an original member, but he was doing something else in the background. I don't know if he was doing, I don't know, some kind of keyboards or hitting a triangle. I had no idea what it was. They replaced him, but even with a Norwegian dialect and accent, they still don't understand what his slang is. You know what I mean? So he's some kind of country bumpkin if you're talking about Norwegian, trying to fit in with this band. But they have 4 albums, and they're all perfect. But it took me at least 15 years to try and hunt down like all the albums, so I have like a completionist catalog. library. So that's the back. Oh crap! Terrible. And here's the front cover. You can see these on YouTube, but they rarely tour America. They did play and open up for High on Fire when they came through, but even that was like 2012. But it's almost like Baroness artwork, and usually the stuff that I'm listening to, they all use the same artist, so you get the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
John Dyer
Similar
Baisley,
artwork.
the front man
Oh,
of
it's the
Baroness,
same guy.
paints the
Baroness,
covers.
right? So you got the red, the gold, you got the blue, and
Yeah.
right green. So I only had the blue, but I haven't been able to find the other ones yet. But
That's pretty cool, you know, when you can see album artwork and you already know like that. Hey, that's the same artist that did this band.
right. But it's same thing as like collecting baseball cards. For me, it's I want to collect this artist's particular work, and it just happens to be with the same kind of terrible music that I love that my wife hates. You know, it's great.
Yeah, no, it's the front man of Baroness is the painter who does those
Oh, really?
covers.
Right,
wow.
right.
Oh, he's
All
good.
Them Witches is another one. All Them Witches, which I really love. That's an underrated band, and they're fantastic. I want to go with Greta Van Fleet because not everybody listens to Led Zeppelin. You should, but if you missed them, you know, this is a great another follow up with that. You know,
Yeah,
there's
if I hear a Led Zeppelin song I don't recognize, that means it's Greta Van Fleet.
that Crimson
I've
Glory
done that
album, that
so many
fourth one
times
with the
when it
roses
first
on
came
it,
out.
right? That's Zeppelin-esque kind of album. So I'm just saying, Tea Party, they used to call them Led Zeppelin back in 2002, and they ended up being their own. Kingdom Come, another example. They called it another Led Zeppelin.
Love Tea Party over here before you move. Love Tea Party over here.
Those
just-
guys grew into their own, which I think they're so amazing, and they got another like 5 or 6 albums. But I had the first one. That's the only one I got. But I'm just saying, from Led Zeppelin-esque comparisons and
Hey,
people
if there's
shitting on it.
a band that your band is going to be compared to, and it's Led Zeppelin, I'll take it. You know.
I know, right? Yeah, I'll take Elton John all day too. I don't care. Yeah, if it's familiar, then it's something it's malleable. It's something that will form and help the younger generation as they're coming up through, whatever their musical struggles. It sucked. I played saxophone, I played guitar. I always played drums, and then it actually kicked off for me, where it's something that actually stuck, as opposed to being bored and tedious with what I wasn't happy or compassionate about. That's why music's a big part of it. Got to learn somewhere.
Yeah, I never know how to say that band's name. Clevertic. I never know how to say that band's name. So, yeah, and I'm not super familiar with them. So, but I know a lot of like my friends in age group and like my friends around my age group and in the metal scene in my area. They like that band, and they're kind of like they're heating up like in the underground, like for sure. That's how I kind of heard about them, and a lot of my friends know about them and things like that. So yeah, they're definitely heating up. They're getting their kind of due in the underground and rising and things like that. But yeah, you definitely got your nose to the pavement, as they say, with hot new bands and things like that, eh, Brian?
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm not leaving. I'm going to have a cigarette. So.
Oh yeah, go. We'll leave you be, and we'll move on to the next person. So we'll move on. So Breton, you're up next there.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. We were talking about passion, making music, and the band that really ignited that for me back in the mid 2000s when I was first getting into all that melodic death metal stuff. One of those bands that completed my journey into full-on death metal was Arsis. Their first album was the album that made me have to start a band. And yeah, I really feel like they haven't got their due either. That first album was done as a two-piece. James Malone, vocals and guitars, bass, all that, and the drummer, Mike Van Dyne. And then from there, they slowly put a band together. And it kind of became training camp for bigger melodic death metal bands. Two guitarists have gone through Arsis and then gone on to play for Black Dahlia Murder. And then there was one that went on to Arch Enemy.
That's cool. I can't say I've heard of Arsis, but my nose isn't as deeply in the underground as some of the other panelists here, though.
Yeah, well,
I've heard their name in passing. I'm not like super familiar with them, and that's actually such a great pick, to be honest, because that's actually kind of speaks to someone like me, where it's like you're talking to me basically, like your pitch is selling me, like they're overlooked. I'm overlooking them. I've heard of their name, but I've never gotten into them, so I'm overlooking them.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely check them out, though. I'm writing it down.
Yeah, it's the same thing for me with some of these other ones. Like I got on my phone and queued up Attacker to check out later because I've never heard of them before.
It's a good album. It's good. It's a quick album. It's quick, but everything's like 2-3 minutes long. It's a quick album. Quick listen. It's good. It's up there with Subhumans.
Yeah, I'll be checking it out in a little bit.
Bobby Rock. Yeah.
That was funny. I'll get onto that. But yeah, Arsis, I've heard of them, but yeah, I've never actually kind of dug into them, as you'd say, and kind of went through a couple albums. I've kind of just maybe went through or clicked on a song on YouTube or sort of thing, right? But that's the extent of that. But yeah, definitely that's the whole point of kind of the show is we can look at this all from different viewpoints and different ways and reasonings why we think a band is underrated or overlooked. And like basically when you're doing that, you're talking to me because they're Arsis. Maybe I need to look into them myself, right? They're overlooked. I'm overlooking them, right? So that's the whole point of it, right? So great pick actually, and just not to put you on spot or anything, but I'm just kind of curious. What was their first album? Like what year was their first album? Like when did they start coming around?
I think their first album came out in 2004. It's called A Celebration of Guilt.
I don't know if you plan on. I don't know if I cut you off, Corey, but do you think they maybe got clumped in with like the metalcore thing that was going on at the time?
Like Hatebreed?
No, I don't think so. Like they would have fallen in more with, well, like Arch Enemy and Black Dahlia Murder, two bands that stole their guitar players.
Hatebreed. I'm wearing a Hatebreed related shirt here. This is Hateware. This is Jamie Justice.
Oh, right. Oh.
Right on, man. I know. That's why I kind of mentioned it.
They're heavier than metalcore. It's not like metal. It's heavier than metalcore. So if you're fans of Black Dahlia Murder, right? So it's kind of that next level, kind of going down that melodic death metal stuff, right? So
that Black Veil Brides is pretty good too. They're pretty good.
That's definitely different stuff. We'll move it along here. So we'll be up to Bill next.
Yep. So last but not least, this is actually a band that I thought long and hard about including here, and I decided to include it. So this is a band that we've all heard of again, keeping with the theme of bands that are well known in our world, but maybe not so much from a mainstream standpoint. I'm going to use the band Guar.
Dude, Sleazy P. Martini's got his own podcast. He is so fun to watch. He's totally out of his mind.
I want to give a shout out to my sister Lisa. Guar is her favorite band. So Lisa,
Guar,
for you
all the way.
So and I mean, they're a band that I can't say I'm a huge fan of, but I have a couple of their albums, and I think timing was an issue with them because if you really look at what they've been doing, it's no different from what Alice Cooper did back in the 70s, right? When they came out in early 90s, late 80s.
Theatrics.
So,
it's theatrical. It's theatrical music, really.
Yeah, and they had their underground following. They're still big in the scene now, and they've had tons of albums, tons of tours, and I think that what they were. I think honestly, I think GWAR was a little bit ahead of their time because I mean, if you look at Slipknot, and they blew up, right, and they're playing arenas and have their own fests and the whole theatrical thing and
Mudvayne too, same era.
Right. So
same little niche, Mushroom Head, same little thing. And then there was Ministry too. There was always Ministry, and I think they used to play it. I'm not sure. Punch Shuttle was on the circuit though.
Yeah, and I have a couple of their albums, and musically, I think some of it's actually pretty good. I know a lot of people look at GWAR as kind of a joke, and in a lot of ways they are, and there's a lot of irony in what they do. And but musically, I've got some of their stuff. War Party, Lust in Space, like that mid-period era is actually really good. Musically, they're good, and so yeah, I think that they could have been. I guess if things broke a little bit differently, maybe they came out 10 years later instead of 1990, maybe 2000. We might be talking about GWAR more as a more of a commercially viable band today.
This Toilet Earth was an amazing album. And then Derek, the bassist there, he came out with his own solo album. This is it Planet of Piss, I think it's called, or Piss Planet.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, that's my third choice.
Wicked proggy. Yeah, it's like Primus meets death metal, really. It's weird. It's good. It's one of those you listen to and then put it back on the shelf,
Yeah.
But it's good. Yeah, I like it. But it's weird.
Like, your average
if you like Weird Al Yankovic, you'll love the album.
Yep.
Well, and then you even said there how people kind of wrote them off as like a joke, as a goof, kind of just wrote them off. I fall into that category. I kind of just didn't ever take them serious. I wrote them off. I was like, this is stupid. I'm not getting into GWAR.
Like,
I did that for years. And I literally just started kind of changing my attitude towards GWAR just this last kind of 6 months sort of thing. Like,
well, they have a lot of catchy stuff. I mean, that song "Sick of You," right? That's like from their first album. It's pretty catchy. I mean, maybe with the right marketing strategy, or maybe if they were on a bigger label. I mean, Metal Blade is big, but they're not a major label, so
they were on that Hard and Heavy TV series. Hard and Heavy, remember that from the 90s? They were on that, and Sick of You was on that, and then they were really promoting them. But then right after that, you get like London Choir Boys, and then after that, you probably get oh God, who knows, Keel, something of that nature.
Yeah.
So
maybe
I have the videos, I have the stuff, man. If you want me to dig it out, I promise I will. But you don't need to watch those again.
So a little bit of an oddball choice for me, a little bit contrarian to quote.
That's good. You picked Fame. That was really amazing. That's a band that should have really exploded. Especially at the time. Love Hate is another one because that's like 1990. They should have really.
When you mentioned when you were bringing it, I was like, yeah, there's Love Hate. Who else was there? There was.
Jizzy Bro, he's so current.
Like Lillian Axe. I know there was like Lillian Axe in the mid-90s.
Oh yeah, they're terrific.
Right.
A lot of great bands that never made it or never really get the recognition that they deserve.
Yeah.
GWAR is a joke that they take very seriously. They take taking themselves too seriously, very seriously.
Like London.
But I mean, if you like traditional heavy metal, and you like catchy, well-constructed songs, like I said, some of those mid-period albums that came out in the 2000s, like Lust in Space and Beyond Hell and War Party, those are pretty damn good albums. JW would like it.
I'm just starting to get into GWAR myself. Like I've just kind of had a revelation, as you'd say, to GWAR, where they fall in line with exactly what the show topic is. I overlooked them for years, and I'm just changing my tune on them myself. And I'm on the hunt for those CDs and kind of trying to listen to them and be acquainted with them and things like that. So great pick. Yeah, great pick. I know some of my friends have gone to their concerts in the past, and they purposely wear a shirt that they don't care about because they know they're just going to get it soaked in the paint blood, right? So. And then they post the pictures, and then they're just soaked in the stuff. I'm like, that's not fun to me, Like I like getting down and dirty in the pit, but I don't necessarily want to be soaked in paint and sitting in my car, and the stuff is leaking all in my car seat, and I have to explain it if I get pulled over to the cops. What the hell is going on here? So, I'm just not into all that shit.
Dave was quite an artist if you think about it. He's definitely someone that was quite what's the word? Ahead of his time, right? With the art and the creativity they put behind their stage setup and their layers.
Well, he also did Green Jello too. Remember, they're the same camp. They're the same manager. They're the same animal, really. Just the tail of the head,
Yeah,
bookend.
it's a shame that would happen to him. It's a shame.
Yeah, I know. And what's his name? Behemoth. He's not a bad replacement. He's funny. They're still on the talk shows like Good Morning America and still busting balls on weather channels and stuff. They're still out there just making a ruckus,
Yeah.
But they're like what Spinal Tap was in the early '80s, but they just made it fruition and they kept it true to the word,
Well, Slipknot should grab them and let Guar open up for them. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
give them the exposure they need and they deserve.
It's the same camp. It's the same stuff. It really is.
That'd be a good little push for War. They would they would appreciate that to bring in some younger, new generation of fans.
Yeah, especially with the platform that bands like Slipknot have.
Right. What's good though is about even with that terminology when you say new metal and all that, I think every generation deserves their own music, and I appreciate Korn and I appreciate the Limp Bizkits and I appreciate all that stuff, but you either grow out of it or you burn out of it, really. Or there's not much like there's a beginning and an end, so there's only like so much in a catalog or a library of these certain bands, and then it just goes away.
Well, I love coming back to my new metal roots every once in a while. Linkin Park, System of a Down, those were big formative bands for me.
Cold. I remember when all that stuff came out new. I was like, oh, what's this? It's like new metal, but I'm still listening to my Iron Maidens, my Creator. You know what I mean? I'm still listening to my DRI, my Dead Milkmen, and all that other stuff. It just some stuff catches you, some stuff just goes by the wayside.
Yeah, new metal. A lot of good stuff in that genre too.
No, I'm more into like the progressive metal and prog rock than I am to try and listen to Nirvana, for example, or Pearl Jam, for example, or Smashing Pumpkins, which I was there when it happened, and I moved on before it disappeared.
Well, my next pick will be good for you.
Yeah. Definitely, to tag along with that, just real quickly before we move along, is the progressive stuff. As I've gotten older, I've gotten more into like all the progressive subgenres, like progressive thrash, progressive metal, technical,
the older I get,
progressive, that kind of stuff.
The older I get, the heavier I get. The heavier it's becoming, and it's really all that sludgy doom metal shit. I really love it, man. I embraced it since day one, and that was 30 years ago.
So I'll move along with my next pick on next year after Bill. So I'll give my next artist a little intro here before I just go ahead and show it. But the next artist, the band that he initially fronted was huge. They're not overlooked at all. But I'll give it away. The band Skid Row split up, and Sebastian Bach was because like the '90s sucked. He obviously he didn't do much he knew that he couldn't do much in the '90s because music was kind of on the downslope. So anyway, Sebastian Bach started putting out solo albums in 2007 here. He started putting out solo albums, Sebastian Bach, and he's put out 3 solo albums so far, Sebastian Bach, and I think all his solo albums are worth looking into. I personally love all of them. Yep. I'm a little biased because I've listened to them so many times. I love them. I know them front to back, sort of thing, like the good songs. But I think all these albums are incredible, like almost masterpieces, almost in a sense. Like they're just as good as the old Skid Row albums. So that's kind of where I'm going with this. Like, if you are into the old Skid Row stuff, I definitely think people should be looking into the Sebastian Bach albums. Again, everyone's opinions are different. People hear different things, but I think he put a lot of time into his albums. Like, he put writing, he put effort into it, he put time. He has energy. He sounds like he wants to be there and sing and put out good material. And yeah, I just think all these 3 albums are worth looking into. I love all 3 of them.
Rock star. Yeah, he's genuine. And the thing is, I think he just did the Taylor Hawkins, one of those concert things they just put together.
I missed that. And
before Grind is one of my favorite albums by them.
Before I forget it, we get off topic or whatever, but I did want to note on one of the albums here, this one, what is it? Give him hell. But on this one in particular, he brought in some studio musicians. You guys all might heard of John 5 to play guitar, Steve Stevens from Billy Idol's band. So Steve Stevens and John 5 is his backing guitarists on this album, and Duff McKagan is playing bass.
Oh wow! Yeah, he cleaned up his band, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, so we're talking Duff McKagan, John 5, and Steve Stevens. So and Bobby John Bazarek here on drums. But
Billy Idol just came out with a new album. He's got a couple of new singles out, and they're actually really rocking. They're really good. I love Billy Idol. I love him.
It's weird because he doesn't hit like high notes, but he has a really unique style. Like, if you think about it, he's got that old like Elvis kind of punky Elvis throwback. Like, I just hear like he's just like it's like he just like took what Elvis was doing and kind of it's like Elvis on steroids basically. He's like he starts going all punky with it. It's just he's really weird stuff if you do like break down Billy Idol's vocal pattern. Anyway, back to the Sebastian Bach. Yeah, he's got some great studio musicians on this. Steve Stevens, John 5. So obviously, that's great. It's great.
It just proves that not everybody finds them annoying.
But anyway, yeah, he's got some. He put good player. He hired good players, got good production, good songs, and yeah, definitely overlooked, or underrated the 3 albums that he's done. My one gripe with Sebastian Bach is that he's been around since 1980. When was the first Skid Row? I don't know.
89.
Whenever was the first Skid Row.
Yeah, I was going to say 87.
89.
Might be 89.
From that time on, he's only put out 6 studio albums in his life. 3 Skid Row and 3 Sebastian Bachs.
Yeah.
6 studio albums in his entire life. But yeah, it's laughable. But it's what do they say?
Quality over quantity.
Quality over quantity, right? So Sebastian Bach working with that motto. So anyway,
Jamie, I want to just. I'm shocked that you picked this. This came out of left field. Because I know you're skewed towards the heavier side of things, but yeah, Sebastian. That I don't have all 3 of those albums, but I have the Angel Down one, which is terrific. Yeah. That Angel Down album is awesome. And Axl Rose sings on 3 of the songs.
Yeah. I was going to bring that too, and I forgot. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, that's a kick-ass album.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a solid one too, all the way through.
This is the first one that I put out in 2007, and yeah, this is still when I was still shopping and buying CDs. You go into a CD store, and I knew nothing about Sebastian Bach's solo album at all. I just walked in the store, I see it on the shelf, and I'm like, I think I heard the single with Axl Rose. I heard the single that he released with Axl Rose, and it was a banger. I was like, this is fucking great.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I seen the thing, and I bought it, and I've been in love with it ever since. And he put out the couple albums after that I kind of had to revisit, like go back and kind of listen to when he put them out. But
personally, I'm not a fan of that 3rd Skid Row album, Subhuman Race. I know it's considered like an awesome underground album. I don't really care for it. And that would have been an awesome 3rd Skid Row album if they just put out Angel Down.
There's a lot of mudslinging going back and forth when they were kicking them out on that album too. There's a lot of mudslinging.
Yeah,
It was. It made it unenjoyable to be in any camp at that time. But that's like what, 94, 95?
Yeah, a lot of people like that Subhuman Race album. They think it's amazing. I never connected with it.
Yeah. Hey, if you haven't listened to Winger, even if you did and you pushed them off, like 17 was good. The whole first album is a good album. He's doing prog rock right now. He's doing like prog metal. If you wanted to go back and visit like his recent stuff that he's doing it just for him, not for the money.
We got the Metal Bastards Ben here commenting saying Shadows Fall should have been bigger, and I definitely agree with that. I love
They're from Massachusetts. They're from Fall River. They're like my neighbors.
They're
my neighbors. Yeah, they're freaking good. They've been good since the get-go. Yep, great band. Anything from Boston, try and support anything. Anything from Providence, Rhode Island.
Another band.
Come to grief. They're freaking awesome. Warhorse. They just played in they played the Hellfest. Now I don't even know where the hell they're playing now, but they have another like a Doomfest going on. Conclave, same band, just different name. So crazy. Black Pyramid.
There we go. He agrees with you on the Winger there. There's your Winger.
I'm telling you, man, listen to the new stuff. It's all metal stuff. Good. He's actually using his talent.
That's funny, the Winger. Okay, there we go.
People ignore it. It's like out of sight, out of mind. Like people don't listen to Europe anymore, and their later albums are probably some of the best music they've ever put out.
I agree, Brian.
Yeah, I just think they're amazing bands, and they still have the musicianship. They still have the passion. They don't care about money. They don't care about selling out arenas anymore. But they could easy. Just it's a different time now.
Yeah, but those first two albums, I mean, you can't compare. Like they're just so melodic and glossy.
Oh my God, that first album's amazing. And then they had the Final Countdown, which anytime it comes on, I still don't turn the radio. I listen to it. I turn it up. I love it.
Yeah, it's funny. I got a friend there who recently made like a Europe post, and it seemed like it seems like Europe is extremely polarizing. Everyone was like extremely angry. They're like, "Boo, Europe! Europe's not metal! Boo!" And I was like, "Whoa! I didn't realize Europe was so polarized."
Oh yeah. There's no joke, and they actually got heavier too. They try and did the grunge thing. They try and did the industrial thing, and then now they're back to the rock and roll with ambience and still with the keyboards and things, but it's like the Hammond B3. They're really good, man. I'm telling you, the newer stuff is really amazing.
The War of Kings.
Good on a rainy day smoking a bone,
Do you have the War of Kings? That's like really good recent one for Europe.
No, I've streamed it. I only buy records and vinyl. I don't have like the CDs. No, I haven't gotten it yet. I stream it though.
I think Brenton's like anxious to give his third pick.
No, I'm just a naturally fidgety person. My legs are bouncing in here.
This is my first time on one of these, so I'm not sure about the etiquette, how long we should be talking.
No, hey, whatever happens. Hey, however it happens naturally. I think this has been a great show. It's actually been a nice flow.
I got my third pick.
Flow, and everyone's talking and things like that, so it's good.
Yeah, Brian's ahead of me.
So yeah, we'll move along next. So Brian, you're up next, and yeah, we'll bang up these last couple of picks here with Brian and Brenton here, and then we're on our last. Brian and Brenton's on their last go round here. So
again, I appreciate you having me on, and thank you for everybody watching us, and I appreciate it, man. I hope it's something that helps you grow your musical library taste even further than the borders that you have.
It's an honor and privilege to be on this, Jamie.
So hey, I thank you all just as much as you're all thanking me. I thank you guys. Without you, there is no show. You guys are the show. So thanks for
I'd like to come back.
This is for the fans, for entertainment. People may not be watching live, but people will be watching in the future. Like this will be on YouTube for years and years. So it's on YouTube for years and years. So if people stumble across it and have some entertainment and some fun and enjoyed our just basically entertainment. People sometimes need to hear other people talk and discuss things just to get outside of their life. You know what I mean? Like there's so much going on in the outside world. It's cool to just hear people talk about music that you love, right? So it's cool stuff. So yeah, Brian, if you want to go up here with your last band choice.
Well, again, yeah, thank you a lot. And basically, anything I listen to is from across the pond. So I'm usually buying a pre-order from Europe, Norway, Sweden, Iceland, any of the Scandinavian countries. So I'm paying $15 for a record for, a $35 shipping fee. But that's another story, right? That's another complaint. But I buy records. So this is one of my favorite bands of all time. And it took me, again, it took over 10 years to hunt this original copy down, Demonic Death Judge. And they have 5 albums. I've only been able to manage to buy 3. The other ones are all digital format. So you could get all these albums on Bandcamp or wherever they sell their stuff. You want to talk about a perfect album, and I'm talking 2016. This was my end of year pick, 2006. So that's a tough one to get, and I had to get it from one of my distributors, and they ordered it for me from overseas, but it didn't cost me anything with the shipping, but I had to pay another $10 just thanks for putting this on your credit card. I have to pay you back $10 for the finder's fee, right? So that was a tough one to get, and it's still hard to find. And they just recently came out with the Trail. This came out during the pandemic. And what they are is like a really heavy, grungy sludge. So if you want to know where all the Soundgardens and the Alice in Chains and all that stuff that happened in '94, make them a little bit more pissed off and angry because they got kicked off the radio, and then just make them a lot more heavier and stoner doom. And this is basically what you're getting. But here's
It's called Demonic Demon Judge.
Yeah, Demonic Death Judge. The Trail, this is the newest one, and they do a lot of like acoustic stuff, so they're kind of goofy in the way of like mountain folk Appalachian mixed with blues, mixed with the sludge, mixed with the really dark, dirty, just buzz anger, garage metal in my opinion. And if I was to start anywhere, it'd be this album, Seaweed. It's a single album. It's a quick album. They got ballads on here. They got ballads now. But even the artwork is just killer. But Demonic Death, can you see it? Demonic Death Judge. And I don't even know. This is like 1,500 copies. I think that's it for the record. And I think the rest of it's just a digital download. Then they have another album called Beneath the Monument, which is they use a lot of the sampling, like the industrial people do, as far as so you're not really singing, but you got the samples, you got movie and horror movie quotes and just things of that nature. And they're one of the heaviest bands that have been around for 20 years. And when you say anything to people that are metalheads, it's like, oh, have you heard of this? They're like, no, I haven't heard of that. But, not everybody's listening to Scandinavian metal, So in the same time, the Trail is really good. That's the newest one. But the first one is extremely, extremely hard to find. And I had to get this through my own label when I had the Shade Beast music store, which we're not even doing records anymore. But if something came in and I didn't have it, bam, I was trying to be a completionist. I got as much as I could. But you can't get your hands on a lot of this physical stuff. So it's to my understanding, it's realistic why they're not bigger than they are. But Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, and all Soundgarden, all that kind of stuff made it huge. And it's just like, what do they just turn it off like a light and nobody's listening to that stuff anymore? It should have grown. or it's a more elevated Nirvana. You know what I mean? It's a more, there's Nirvana, then there's, you know, Uber Nirvana or whatever. You know, it is with the sludge and the fuzz tones. I'm thinking they're playing like orange amps with Gibson Les Pauls or even SGs. You know, just the stoner Iommi sound. It's really good. They're amazing, and there is 5 albums, but the Seaweed one, I'm telling you, it's a perfect album all the way through. And that's like a 30-minute listen for the whole album. So it's not like a 7 minute this and 6 minute and 8 and 10, which I like. I like 6 songs for an hour. You know what I mean? As opposed to 12 songs for an hour, which, you know, that's a whole different process of what you want to listen to. But
Yeah, no, I went and found it. Be
Yeah.
listening to that later.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm telling you, dude, it's sludgy. So turn the bass all the way up, turn it as low, put it in headphones because they do a lot of the sampling and stuff in between that. So a lot of keyboards, orchestrated stuff, but it's I don't know if you ever took music theory, but they have the breakdowns and the bridges, and then they have like they just have these wicked riffs that are just sludgy, Sabbath riff heavy. It's a really really good band.
Yeah, oh, I love that orange amp sound. So I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to this.
Velotech you'd like too if you like that twinning in. It's metal mixed with God, it's everything. The drummer's amazing. The drummer's just amazing. I don't even know how to compare him to anything. Thin Lizzy on fucking steroids.
Nice.
And then Droids Attack. Please check out Mustard
That was
Droid.
the one. That's the. I forgot its name. I'm gonna look it up now too.
Droids Attack. It's called hold on. Sci-Fi or Die is the album. You'll like that too. And it's thick off the heavy bass, right off the kick. And it's really front heavy. And then it's got the breakdown stuff middle. They're all good. It's just, you know, you can rank the album later. But then it's fade out psychedelic on the end. It's really good. It's a solid album.
Oh,
I was going to say the Sword, but I think everybody knows the Sword.
They could be a band that could qualify for this, I guess. I mean, they're not a household name, the Sword, but
I've seen them twice. I love them. And then they got Kyle Schutt. He's got Dark Side of the Moon that he did on his own accord. He did the whole album. He did everything. I think he played the drums. He played all the guitar, everything. He did the singing. It's even twice as stonerific as the original Dark Side of the Moon, which I think everybody's heard at least once. This is a really good version of that album.
So you know what would be good is if we could get a Spotify playlist together with all of these bands and put that in the YouTube description.
I'd be happy to send you anything. Just find me. I'd be happy to send you anything I know. I'm on Atomic Duck. I have my own YouTube channel. There's like 900 songs on there and concerts. And it's usually all this stuff that I'm talking about. Earth Ride, Sleep, High on Fire. I'm huge into all of that. Electric Wizard, Melvin's, Acid Bath.
Yeah, he's mentioned a Sword album there, Sword Apocryphon.
That's a hard record to find, man. I got the yellow version too, Apocryphon from the Sword. That's a hard one to find. That's their 4th album.
you're definitely more on the stoner side of things. I see. You're more like
a drummer for 40 years, so yeah.
doom stoner.
With Sabbath, yeah, you know, like I said, some of the bands that I really like, they have a beginning and an end, so it's infinite. You know, 12 albums, and then I want to find something just like it, but these only have 12 albums. After 40 years, they kind of burn out after a while. So I want these 12 albums to sound like, you know, these other 5 albums from these other bands.
Are you familiar with Cult of Luna?
Yeah, Heavy Temple. That whole new album is just, that's my end of pick for 2022 this year, and I still got 3 months to go. I'm still trying to figure out what's coming. But Heavy Temple, that album is just a monster, and it's a singer that plays bass and she sings just like Clutch, or even what's the other one? What's Three Wheel Nation?
I think we're thinking about two different things.
Even Windhand, for example. Windhand is another band that's underrated, but they're making it huge. They're just awesome.
So the other day, Eddie Trunk did an episode about similar to what we're doing here, just bands that should have been bigger, and it was kind of interesting because people were calling up with these obscure bands that he never heard of.
Right.
And Brian, one guy mentioned a band called Freedom Hawk. Have you heard of them?
Yeah, that's Levy, dude.
I figured you would have heard of them, but I had no idea who they
no,
are.
that's Hawkwind. Sorry, no, that's Hawkwind. Freedom Hawk. I have heard of them. Yes.
Yeah. So Freedom
Yep.
Hawk, yeah, another one. Doom, stoner band.
I think it's 2016. They're up there with that. What's the other? Wolf Fat. They're up there with.
I know Wolfat's cool.
Yeah, Wolf Fat. Fu Manchu.
I know you like Dope Throne's a Canadian band. Dope Throne's really awesome. I like them.
Yeah.
So I don't know about anything about Freedom Hawk, but the guy who called Eddie
Freedom
Trunk
Hawk. Yeah, it's got a big eagle on the cover, and it's got the wings coming out. It's cool.
Yeah, they have like 6 albums.
Even going back, there's a series called the Brown Acid series. It's from Writing Easy Records. Right now, there's 14 of them. It's a compilation, but basically, it's all the clunkers, the one-hit wonder clunkers from all the garage bands from like the late 60s through the 70s through the 80s. And it's that kind of fuzz tone sound, but there's 14 albums. Just look up Brown Acid Volume 1. My favorite album is the second one and the fifth one. But there's just all these freaking bands that you'd never heard before, but it's all the same bluesy stoner garage stuff, man. Not the Grateful Dead. This stuff is heavy. This stuff has the wah-wah pedals. It's got the, the voice equalizer thing, It's a great series if you check it out. And they release a new album every year. But Writing Easy Records, just hit the Writing Easy Records on the YouTube channel, and you can download anything you want. Find the Bandcamp. You can download the album. You can buy the album. They have a 12-record set. It's a box set that you can buy. It used to be $79. Now it's like $179. But you get all these cool things, and it even goes back to like way before Zebra was Zebra, which I think is from New York. But it's got like their demos on it and shit. If you're looking to be a completionist with certain bands, genres, eras, it's really good.
All right, yeah, cool stuff. And we'll move along and we'll do our last pick here, last band of the night. So, Breton, what do you got for us?
I have a physical thing to grab for this one. Let me get it.
Huh.
Oh, we got Top.
You like
All
show and
right,
tell.
my man.
You like show and tell.
It better not be Guar because that's already taken.
Actually, I think when the personal
It's a
message
two-part
Bill, you were saying, oh, you had an artist in mind. I was like, oh, you better not be picking Sebastian Bach.
No, Black Crown
Initiate.
Wow. Wow.
Buy this album. Buy this album.
They were around there in the early
Black
2000s, weren't
I
they?
didn't know about them.
You
These
got
guys.
dope.
Black Crown Initiate they came in to fill the void after Opeth quit screaming to go progressive rock. Black Crown Initiate is really in that same vein. Take what Opeth was in the 90s and early 2000s, taking you on a journey from the heaviest death metal to the chillest ambient stuff in between and back and forth. Take that and bring it into the modern era with 8-string guitars. It's absolutely crushing at times and absolutely beautiful at other times.
Wow. I love Opeth, so I need to check them out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate the hardships that these guys have gone through. There was one tour that they went through, and their manager at the time withheld all the money that was paid to him as their deposits or something along those lines. So they came home from tour with no money, and then that put them in a really bad place with that manager. And he was also working at the record label that just put out their album, and he buried that album. It never saw any promotion. And it's a real shame because it sounds so killer.
Do they have like similar to Opeth where they have clean vocals and then they change over to screaming?
Yeah. In their case, it's two different guys. One guitar player that does the clean singing and the front man that does the screaming. And unfortunately, the guy that plays guitar and does the singing has recently left the band. Has been touring with Rivers of Nile. And I suspect it's probably more lucrative for him to continue to do so than to come back to Black Crown Initiate. So power to him to do what's right for him for his career in music. But it's a real shame to see Black Crown Initiate peter out. Well, the remaining members say they're going to keep going. So we'll see if they can fill in the gaps that he's left. And if they do, I would love to hear it.
I just looked up looked them up on Wikipedia. They have 3 albums. I guess 3 full length, right?
3 full length and 1 EP. And the EP might be the best material.
Yeah, they usually is. There's a lot of splits too, so you got to watch those too. So to find those, you have to find the other band that they did split with, and usually you find them because it's not sometimes on their Bandcamp or whatever, right? Inhaler's a perfect example of that.
Are they as do they get as progressive as Opeth in terms of like the song lengths? Are these like long progressive songs?
No, I don't think they get into the double digit.
They nip it in the butt of it.
Kind of more in the 6-7 minute range. It's definitely not a radio single length, but not an Opeth length.
No.
Happy middle ground.
I'll have to check them out.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
They kind of nip it in the bud a bit. They don't go as atmospheric, it sounds like. Maybe a little less atmospheric and a little more tempo.
Yeah, they have their atmospheric sections, but they don't bore you to death with them.
That's very, yeah, I definitely would be interested in definitely checking out and trying to get into it. I definitely have heard the name in passing, just being into metal for so many years. I've definitely heard that name for sure. Again, great pick because I'm overlooking it. So yeah, definitely need to check it out. So
yeah, their drummer on the first few releases went on to play for Thy Art Is Murder.
Oh yeah, I like those guys.
So that's another thing where it's a shame that he had to leave Black Crown Initiate to go get paid more to play drums in a bigger band.
Yeah, all these guys, they always have.
In a band, you don't make any money off of Spotify either.
Yeah, I guess that, it's no knock to these musicians, but I guess they do kind of have to have 2 or 3 kind of side things going on, and whatever one makes it big, they ultimately have to go with, right? So
it's a business,
right? But it's like, okay, I have 2 or 3 bands, and let's hope maybe one of them can go somewhere, right?
Right.
And that's no knock to the musicians, right?
The frontman in Black Crown Initiate is also kind of getting known for his involvement in video games as well. He was part of the death metal choir on Doom Eternal, and he was part of this new game that's coming out called Hellsinger, where you have to try and shoot all these enemies in time with the music that's going on, and it's full on death metal. So Like the more in time with the music you kill enemies, the better it works.
Cool.
I can't think of. I recently thought I'd seen a little bit on an artist that recently got into the video game world. I know who it was. Edsel Dope, the guy from Dope. Edsel Dope. He has like a digital marketing, or like a 3D marketing company in the movie world that actually has done some big movie productions, like big giant movie productions. And like Edsel Dope owns a piece of that. He set millions of dollars in contracts off this 3D graphic company he owns. Anyway, what do you got here? Oh, Church of Misery.
Oh yeah, they're awesome live. There's another one.
Who did I see open for King Diamond? That was a Acid and the Deadbeats, or what's the name?
Yeah. Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats. The lizard.
Have you ever heard of ASG? ASG?
I have.
Desert rock band. ASG. They're really cool. A band I was thinking about using tonight, right down here is a Venomous Maximus. They were like just a power doom band, like super powerful riff heavy doom band. But I thought they were going to blow up, and they never did.
I wanted to point out also a band, Jamie, I was messaging you before this. The band that I was going to use was Dio. And I know that sounds crazy. But
right. Yeah.
We all know Dio, how important and influential he is, right, in this whole genre that we love. But
he's got a movie coming out in the theater.
Yeah. So what I was thinking, I was going to say was, for him, his
solo albums.
He didn't. Okay, so he made it a point that he didn't want to go commercial and not do ballads and to do that. He wanted to stay on the dark side. So his career after after Last in Line and Sacred Heart, it kind of like he became less popular. He wasn't doing arenas anymore. And I think if he had picked up with a producer, like he made it a point. Like Ronnie was really stubborn. He didn't want to have any outside people producing his albums. He just was self-producing everything. I think if he had gone with like Mutt Lange or a big time producer, or maybe not Desmond Child, but like a Bob Rock or someone like a heavy hitter producer, he probably could have stayed Dio and done arenas into the '80s, late '80s and early '90s.
Subhumans.
So that's why I thought maybe Dio would be cool, because he ended up becoming huge, and he was huge anyway, and Heaven and Hell and The Reunion, but like his solo career was kind of floundering in the mid '80s, right, when all these other bands were getting huge, like Def Leppard and Bon Jovi and Skid Row, and he could have been in that league, I think, if maybe he had a producer to steer him that way. But Ronnie was stubborn. He wanted to stay dark. He didn't want to get commercial.
So
Dude, Heaven and Hell was one of the best things he ever did.
Put out Sunset Superman, the song Sunset Superman.
I love that album. Dream Evil was an awesome album.
After that,
Rob Halford filled in for Dio for three nights because he got sick during Sabbath or whatever. That Heaven and Hell.
So I know it's
talking
like
about getting back together with, I think it's Carmine Peace. Or Piche, whatever that fuck he called.
Yeah, so I mean, he's not underappreciated. Ronnie is not underappreciated by any means, but from a commercial standpoint, I think that, in an alternate reality, he could have become like really big on his own in the late '80s. But he ended up just sticking to his guns and doing heavy stuff in the '90s.
Right. Yeah, he never buckled like a belt. That's right. And his wife was very smart, but she's also the producer.
Unlike other bands, he didn't align with punk rock. Yeah.
Well, also, he rejoined Black Sabbath, Dehumanizer '92, so he was kind of distracted there for, 92, 93, whatever, 94, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He was distracted
so that was my, like,
opening the Sabbath thing. But, I don't, your pitch was Dio could sell me on the '90s and up, like, because people just totally dismiss his 90s and 2000s albums. They're like, oh, they suck,
Right.
blah, blah, blah.
Right. Exactly.
They are
Yeah.
really good. I think, actually, I was just talking to somebody, I don't know who offhand, but I was just telling them that I think Killing the Dragon, Master of the Moon are really good albums.
They're phenomenal. But it was like too late. I mean, from a commercial standpoint, by that point, you know, metal had changed and so many things had changed in the industry, you know, but those are like some of his best albums. I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Killing Dragon, Master of the Moon, what's the other one? I'm just trying to think of the other one, but yeah, there we go. We're nearing on an hour and 40 minutes, almost a couple hours here. But yeah, I don't know if anyone else has anything to say, or I know briefly I was thinking about using Doro, because like everyone knows of Doro. Like you have all heard of Doro. She's an iconic character, I guess, in the metal world. Like we all know of Doro, but nobody actually knows her album. Nobody actually knows her albums.
She's on tour. She just did the Hellfest 2022. She's got a new thing out. It's like an hour and a half.
No, like, we've all heard of Doro, but nobody actually knows her solo album.
Warlock.
So I was gonna grab all those Doro solo albums, bring them down here, and said Doro's underrated, right? Because everyone knows of her, but her albums, nobody actually knows her albums. But anyway,
that would have been a good. You would have sold me on that, Jamie, for sure. I think she was popular though for aesthetic reasons in the late '80s, especially with the male crowd.
Like I've never heard anyone actually talk about.
Right.
Yeah, I've never heard anyone actually mention her albums. Like, oh, I love this Doro album. I love this Doro album. Like people always just mention the Warlock albums, and then that's it. Like they don't.
Right. That would have been a good pick. I actually have one of her solo albums.
People know of Doro as like a metal cultural icon, but nobody can actually say they know the Doro album material, right? So that's a weird one. That's almost like when you're so popular, but you're so popular just by word of mouth almost. Like nobody knows your albums, you're popular by word of mouth.
Like Pantera. Yeah, Pantera overnight. Nirvana overnight. Can I have an honorable mention for? I know we did 3. Can I just pick one?
If anyone wants to leave, you guys are more welcome. Saying,
yeah, I gotta get off actually.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, well, it's kind of naturally in the stream here in probably 5-10 minutes. No big deal, but yeah, press for time, you leave.
It's called Dumb Enough to Care, right? It's Inhaler. They have 3 albums. I have them all. He's from Mockingbird. But it's an 18-minute song. It's all one song. So it's all one song. It's got wicked breakdowns, wicked heavy sludge. It's got like Trailer Park Boys for like samples in between the breakdowns and the like, you know what I mean? Like the bridges and stuff going in between the layers of the music. It's 18 minutes long. It's a brilliant album. I have it on cassette, and I have it on CD, and I have it on that.
18 minutes. That would have to be an interesting song to keep me interested.
18 minutes? Oh, just started from the beginning.
It would have to from the beginning. It'd have to be quite a high tempo to keep me.
It goes by like a 5. I swear to God, it's a really good album though. It's solid, and that's 2016, I think.
I'm gonna throw in a quick honorable mention too. Then Zool.
Oh,
yeah, I like your shirt. I was gonna say something at the end. Yeah, I saw that.
Local melodic black metal, black rap band Zool.
Blackened death metal. They're the behemoth of the Okanagan, and they haven't played for years. And I would have loved to have seen them blow up.
Oh, I hear you, man. You know what? A lot of my friends' bands are really good. They worked in the garage, for like a year. They went and recorded like a demo and then just broke up. It's like, oh my God, you guys would be big. No one to follow around here anymore.
So just for a second, when you showed that, I was going to go grab my Arc and Fire CD. I got the Arc and Fire CD I bought when they put up the Arc and Fire CD.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. I think we had our show. We had all our picks. We sold our pitches to the jury here on why these bands are overlooked or why they're overrated and why we need to look into them. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of interesting picks, good picks, and yeah, I think this is more or less a good show, and thanks for everyone for showing up. And yeah, we'll say our goodbyes and get out of here, I guess, right?
Thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
Yeah, thank you too, Jamie. And I've discovered a lot of new bands here thanks to the suggestion. So I'm going to do some deep diving into some of these groups.
Yeah, you got it, Bill. Hey, you had some good insight. You really picked some crazy ones. I wasn't going to pick Bane. I was going to pick Killer Dwarfs, but I was like, everybody knows them.
What are you, Killer Dwarfs?
Yeah, I was going to pick. They're touring now. They're finally touring the States. They're finally
Killer
touring.
Dwarfs are great.
They wouldn't even come down from Canada. They're too scared of Trump.
I was gonna say, aren't they? I think they're actually Canadian. I think.
They are. They would. The closest they've ever come was Niagara Falls in New York. To me.
Well, I think I don't know if I actually remember hearing the song on the radio, to be honest, but I know they did have a big hit in Canada on the radio in the early '90s.
Yeah, I remember they had
on that album from '92 or the album from '90 on the
Stand Tall. There's that song "Up to You and Me," which is a good stoner song. It's a good one. It's a ballad. It's good. It's good.
Killer Dwarfs are awesome. They had a run of like 3 or 4 really good CDs in a row.
That's right. The last time I saw the record, it was up in Maine, and I didn't have $40 for the damn thing. And I think it was Killer Weapons was the album. I would have bought it. I just didn't have $40. I was going to see Sleep across the street. I needed $40 for beers. I should have bought the record.
So there's a good subject matter for a future podcast. Would be the best Canadian bands.
Rush.
I have a lot of Canadian stuff actually, but
Cryptopsy.
Yeah, I got a lot of Canadian stuff, a lot of like older 80s metal and stuff like that, or Canadian stuff. But I got some newer stuff too. Like I really love.
I got 3 right there.
You guys wouldn't believe, like, this totally would have worked for the show tonight too, but the people around here love Unleash the Archers. Like, you wouldn't believe, like, they're like legends around here, man. So Unleash the Archers are known worldwide now. Everyone knows who they are, but around here people like love that band. So they're highly respected around here. So Unleash the Archers are a good Canadian band.
You got Gorgon.
Yeah, cool stuff. We'll all get out of here and subscribe, mosh, see you later, all that kind of good stuff.
Hit that like button.
Peace, guys.
Thank you very much.